traveled to where you would find me. I wrote down all of the places that you might go. Oh, mother, remind me, mother, remind me, mother, come home. Oh, mother, remind me, mother, remind me, mother, come home. Somebody told me the right thing was keeping you near me. Somebody said the right thing was letting you go. I'm still alone, mother, come find me, I miss you so. Oh, mother, come find me, mother, come find me, I'm living alone. It's hard to believe the road we were on is behind me. I don't know if I can remember which way I should go. Oh, mother, remind me, mother, remind me, mother, come home. Oh, mother, remind me, mother, remind me, mother, come home. I traveled to where you would find me. I planted a tree in the ground and I'm watching it grow. It's a sign of survival, mother, remind me when I feel low. Oh, mother, remind me, mother, remind me, mother, come home. Oh, mother, remind me, mother, remind me, mother, come home. It starts with red and ends with white. Born in the morning, die at night. It starts with blood and it ends with bone. Born with your mother, but you die alone. Little bird of my heart, fly away home, pajarito de mi corazón. Little bird of my heart, fly away home, pajarito de mi corazón. It starts with the cradle and ends with the grave. Raindrops falling back into the wave. My fog is calling me home. Pajarito de mi corazón. Little bird of my heart, fly away home. Pajarito de mi corazón. Little bird of my heart, fly away home, pajarito de mi corazón.
My mom asked to be remembered for making soup and quilts. She did make wonderful soups and food that people said was nourishing to their souls. She made quilts too, small quilts that she gave to local firemen to hand out to the children when responding to emergencies. She also made dolls and stuffed animals and sent them to shelters for women and children. One year she sent a big box of homemade dolls to a shelter in New Mexico, or maybe it was Arizona, at Christmas time. She received a heartfelt card thanking her. Every child received one of her wonderful dolls on Christmas morning. My mom made things all the time. Handmade books, dream journals, quilted wall hangings, dolls, drawings, paintings, prints, clay figures, clay animals, and more. She never stopped learning and creating. One of her favorite things to do is going to yard sales and flea markets. In her handmade books, she would draw each purchase and describe people and adventures of the day. She loved life and documenting the world around her, but she wasn't afraid of death. In the last year of her life, she often reflected on death and the afterlife, almost as if she knew that her time on earth was coming to an end. She made an afterlife wish list. April 24th, 2020. Here is some of what I look forward to in the afterlife: playing the piano, having an herb garden, Wolfie, our pet wolf, who's passed on, living by the ocean, cold, having a small boat. I noticed that I don't include art making in the list, she wrote. And here's a quote from Vincent van Gogh she wrote in one of her journals. There's nothing more truly artistic than to love people.
Lisa and my mother were cousins, part of a large Swedish family in Connecticut. 3 years older than me, Lisa was my artsy, ultra-creative, quiet, witty idol. I thought she was the world's most imaginative and sophisticated girl. My most cherished memories of Lisa are from the summers we spent together with her parents on Horse Island off the coast of Connecticut. It was 17 acres of heaven. We stayed in a little cottage, one of only 3 on the island, and were mostly cut off from the world. No electricity, no boat, usually no other people out there. It was the 1950s, and Lisa and I were 9 and 12, with a fast friendship, an abiding humor, and a rocky, wild island all to ourselves. We roamed from dawn to dusk in a simple place, in a slower time. It was idyllic, and you grow to really know someone over days like those. I get back to Connecticut every few years, and I gaze out at Horse Island. The cottage is gone, my aunt and uncle, and now Lisa, are gone too. Those island days were a magical time in my life, and remind me of a friend and a cousin that I loved. Sandell Gould Bennett, Christmas Eve, 2021.
My younger brother would say that Lisa and I were kooky. Oh, the fun we had, being rather silly and more than a little quirky. I suppose some people, like my brother, thought we were sometimes outrageous, but we were just being true to ourselves in a goofy and rather innocent way. We were not out to push buttons. We just wanted to be acknowledged as individuals, I guess. We were always thinking out of the box before that expression caught on. In truth, perhaps the real reason I engaged in my nutty fun with my dear friend was to keep an eye on her so we didn't get into too many outlandish predicaments. In dress, in discussions, in and out of our high-pressured academic world, we relished our crazy antics. We climbed trees to read books, ultimately to spy on individuals walking beneath us. We hid each other's shoes while sitting in the choir loft at church, so we would have to walk back down the church's aisle barefoot, keeping absolutely straight faces past the primly dressed matrons. We eyeballed young Yaleys on our tours of the university's neighborhoods. We occasionally drank sips of wine and liquor from Auntie Sandy's, Mormer's, liquor cabinet, using the screw tops as tiny cups to ensure our nips went unnoticed. We laughed at how Wes, Lisa's father, sort of stayed clear of our capers. It was a friendship of frolic, fun, and fellowship, precious in its unique form. Never an angry word, never a disagreement. We were two planets in absolute alignment, spinning our way through high school. But our greatest fun, moments when we really stood out as a pair, came each Monday morning in French class. Every week on the previous Friday, teams were assigned 20 vocabulary words to work into some form of skit to be performed for our next class. Armed with outrageous plots and nifty props, we were the entertainment needed to get this terrific class off and running for the week ahead. I don't remember any of the words we were assigned, only the howls of laughter from our fellow students and our teacher. Mondays were magic and manic with Lisa and Weed, memories to last a lifetime. Annabelle, when your mother and I finally reconnected a few years ago, after years of obsessive searching on my part, she gave me a Ralph Waldo Emerson fabric quote you designed: "Be silly, be honest, be kind." I've framed it and look at it often, recalling how that quote exemplifies my love for Lisa. And Jane, the fact that you tracked me down after Lisa's death is reminiscent of my relentless search for your mom. The joyful friendship I felt in the early 1960s comes back full circle. I am so grateful you found me.
Lisa was pure magic and artistry. Everything Lisa did was an artistic act. It came to her as naturally as breathing. Everything from the arrangement of the objects in her house to the way she put together a salad for lunch was informed with an aesthetic eye unique to her. It was never pretty or sentimental. Lisa hated the word pretty. Lisa's sense of beauty was grounded in the humble magic of everyday life. In her art, she chose to focus on things most people would pass by. Weeds, rock, the labels on the cans in her cupboard. She drew the faces of old people, the body language of animals, or teacups on a table, and revealed something both immediate and transcendent. No one could draw like her. I've never known a more prolific or gifted artist. Lisa was one of the most important friends of my whole life. She spontaneously and generously made me an honorary member of her clan. Always welcome for a conversation, a meal, a cup of coffee, or an artistic collaboration. I miss her so much. She was always ready for making and sharing and fun. There will never be another like her. I remember on many occasions walking to Lisa's place only to find her doing something like making tea in an earthen pot over a fire in the front yard. Who does that? No one else. I remember one of Lisa's favorite pieces of clothing, a dark green jacket on which she had embroidered the word cosmos. That embodies something about her. She was the center of things without knowing it. She built a world of beauty and magic, friendship and freedom. I feel sure that's where she is now. We all send you love, Lisa, our dear friend.
For You, Lisa, by Stella Dunn. I will always remember you, Lisa, as the mother of my dearest friend. I will always remember you, Lisa, as a talented artist, painter, creator, a creative force in the world. I will always remember walking into an epic pie-making adventure with you, Annabelle, and Jane. I will always remember your cackling laugh, the best of all time. I will always remember you, Lisa, standing with me at one of the most terrifying times in my life. You hypnotized me, literally, and helped me face my fear of pain, of loss, of cancer. You were calm and quiet in the face of these things. I learned from your stillness, your kindness, your compassion. It is not something easily forgotten. Your impact in my life cannot be measured. I saw you, Lisa, in a dream after you died. You were watching over your daughter. You smiled and told me that controlled chaos is the way of the universe. I know wherever you are whole and happy and full of love. I'm so glad I knew you in this life. Lisa, I will always remember you. This is from my Margaret. Dear Lisa, last time we talked was in November and you were
Dear
moving to
Lisa,
Anna's.
the last time we talked was in November when you were moving to Anna's. We spoke of Christmas and how much we enjoyed it and how much we loved our families. Such good times and good memories. With that said, Merry Christmas, my friend, my sister. My wish for you, no more pain. For you to know how much you are loved by all. What a talented and gracious lady. You will never be forgotten. You're only a heartbeat away. We can still talk because you are always in our hearts. Love you, Margaret.
My strongest memories of Grandma are over coffee, surrounded by art. Coming home from work on a summer afternoon in 2019, I stopped by her little house with a few cannoli I picked up from the bakery in Tahlequah, telling her that it was our little secret. We had them, and some instant coffee in the living room, cats on her lap, dogs on mine. My life has been made full by those wonderful, easy, love-filled moments with her. Moments when we could have coffee and play board games, take a walk down to the mailbox or pond, or any one of 1,000 different things. She made my life more. She made me more. Her words guided me, helped grow me into compassion, into kindness. Without her, I would have been less. Grandma was there always. She helped raise me for most of my life, and she will always be there in my formative memories. NPR playing in the background, cats getting underfoot, coffee in hand.
Although we met Lisa about 13 years ago, we immediately felt like kindred spirits, having grown up in the same era and having shared similar experiences. To us, she was a true Renaissance woman. We admired her creativity, whether it was in her cooking, artwork, gardening, humor, counseling, and sharing her insights into life. We are lucky to be the recipients of a few pieces of her artwork that not only decorate our home, but also put a smile on our faces as a joyful reminder of her spirit. Behind us are two teaching assistants from India, sketches of them while she was at Bacon College.
We always looked forward to our trips to Kuwaita to see this matriarch and her family. She was kind to everyone, and she sure loved animals, of which there were many. Sitting around her table enjoying coffee talks, or feasting on a delicious meal, or playing a game or two was always a highlight of our visits.
Her love, kindness, stories, and legacy lives on through her children and grandchildren and the many others that she touched. Her car's bumper stickers said it all. Well-behaved women rarely make history.
They kind of wonder why we're putting her remains in a pond. But, we were there with her when she passed, and she was kind of a pantheist at the end, and she believed there were sort of spirits around, and she said there was really good spirits somewhere. It had something to do with this pond or this area. But it's a long walk to the farmhouse, but she came there every day, and she loved it. This is where she wanted to be. And she also said that we had come down here and visit her. And I think that's a nice thought. And we will miss her a lot.
It's impossible to summarize a life, and I'm not sure anyone should try. But she left us the gift of years of journals in which she tells the story of her life. Summer, 1975, right after we moved to Oklahoma. First night in the new house. Charlie off to get the fan. Hot, hot, dark and lonesome. Took rocking chair out on porch to rock baby. Kids sat on porch by my feet. Very noisy with locusts. Quiet. Could hear the Fixin family across the street singing hymns in Cherokee. In her journals over the years, she wrote recipes passed down or discovered or invented. Plum quick bread with Joe and Melissa's plums. Cottage cheese pancakes. Her regrets of not helping a young woman hitchhiking in 1975. The hitchhiking girl in New London met her going into a drugstore under the hulking bridge over the Thames River. About 18, lanky red hair, very few teeth, as if she had been plump and had lost 25 pounds. Weary, asked me how to get to New Haven. I pointed out the throughway, 91, and went on into the store. Now, 5 years later, how many, many times I have thought of that wandering girl. Why didn't I think to invite her home with me for lunch, or perhaps to stay for a few days? I cannot forget that girl, and I am afraid that nothing good happened to her. I think of Abraham entertaining angels unaware. December 18th, 1988. She wrote of the horror of seeing an owl suspended by its left leg caught in a steel trap in a tree the day before the family moved away from the farm to Norman. I saw Joe in the backyard. I called to him, saying very briefly that I needed his help with an owl in a trap hanging from a tree. It seemed as if my communication to him was instant and complete. He ran out far ahead of us, vaulting the brambles and barbed wire. I'd never seen him run so fast, move with such purpose. I have never loved him as much as at that moment, as if he was created for that moment, a hero running fearlessly, selflessly, headlong to the rescue, throwing off his shirt and jacket. The last year of her life, isolated on a dirt road because of COVID, my mother sewed dolls and quilts for homeless children in shelters. She drew pictures of her daily life in journals, mostly the donkeys, the chickens, and the flowers. She made art and soup. She was an artist, humble, unusual, eccentric, messy, a good friend. She didn't fear death, but she was horrified by the idea of a funeral and made us promise that we would do nothing more than gather in her honor at the pond. She worried that no one would remember or show up, that it would be a formal, uncomfortable, poorly attended service that bore no resemblance to how she actually lived. She hated mourning. She called it suffering succotash. Her motto was live or die. She always said she wasn't afraid to die, and she proved it by facing her death so bravely. No tears. She never held on to anything too tightly. She believed in letting go, moving forward, no sentimentality. We have held on to her tightly, though. This year has been a terrible year of loss and grief. When I think of my mom, the biggest gift she always gave me was freedom. Freedom from guilt, from regrets. The freedom to be myself. The freedom to be creative, to stay or go, to live or die as I chose. And I know that she would want us all to be free from the pain of this past year living without her. I hope that today, as we remember her unique, brilliant, creative life, we can also let her go in the best way, still keeping her close in our hearts. She once gave me a drawing she'd done of a cat licking milk from a bowl, with words that perhaps best summarize how she saw her life. Thank you for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever.